Well, hold on.
Welcome.
I thought we were going to drink.
Welcome back to episode 4 of the Savages Discourse There Ever War. The season 2.
Episode 4, season 2.
Dude, I've been... You've already witnessed this earlier, but dude, and I don't mean any offense to anybody who suffers from neurological phenomena, but like I've been stroking out recently.
Yeah, you have.
Dude, I will just be like, blah, 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 blah. I'll start like just dropping fat bars. Like I'll be like, so anyway, I was They call me Little Trousers.
Oh,
actually, they call me a lot of things, and they're not appropriate to share.
No. It's mostly me calling you that. Dude, I remember what I was going to say.
Ooh, what you got?
I
was at this... You start and I'll interrupt.
I realized I have a blind spot in my peripheral vision.
That's an excellent starting point.
I know, dude. So I actually noticed this a while ago.
Oh my God, talking to your fucking mind.
I'm here.
You're like, so anyway, I was talking to Bob, and Bob
dude,
was like, whoa,
I'm an active talker. I like to rock around.
Okay, well then fucking we're going to glue it to your face.
You know I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. You could duct tape this to my head.
We're going to add Wi-Fi to it, and then you've got everything you need.
I've got a house.
Boom, house. It's like in a video game when you dump a bunch of random ingredients and you get an unknown item out of it. It's like a microphone, glue, house.
Boom. Boom, you live here now.
Boom, you've got plumbing.
So I got this blind spot in my periphery eye, right? And
you motherfucker, you made me spray your periphery. The reason it's peripheral is because it's not singular. You cock.
Anywho.
Oh, wait, or maybe it is. Peripheral. I'm not sure what the singular of it. Anyway, continue.
Thank you. So there's so your brain does this thing where this is like a normal thing. Is I looked it up a long time ago, but actually just I think it's getting worse or something. but your brain does this thing where like if you have holes in your peripheral vision, because I think everyone does, your brain just like fills in the blank spots. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
It's called patternicity.
Yeah, sure. So there's like I found it today. I was like moving my hand, and there's a spot where my hand just disappears.
No shit. Where is it? Can you see it right now?
No, I lost it. It's not my whole hand. It's like fingers. Where'd it go?
So for those of you who can't see what's happening, Kyle is staring blankly into the abyss and waving his hand in the right side of his peripheral.
I'm doing the John Cena.
What's that?
He's a wrestler.
Oh, he's the dude that wears shorts on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, it's gone now. I might be cured. I can see again, John.
Dude, so because I work in a clinic, we have a kiddo that has so his pupil and his iris, the pupil is blended, is like the structure is fused to the iris, and it creates something called Columbia. It's not Columbia. It sounds like I'm trying to say Columbia. Mm-hmm. No, it's like Colobuma, I don't know. But it's congenital. You're born with it, and apparently it either has no effect on your vision at all, or you can only perceive light and dark with that eye.
Huh.
Some pretty opposite poles. But anyway, I learned that today. It was really cool. Some people call it like a keyhole or like a tiger, like eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah, people are just born that way. It's just a thing. It's like a defect.
That's crazy.
It doesn't give you any super cool. It gives you the great... Dude, it's so funny how like we in modern society don't treat visual... vision loss as like a disability. Because like if I was born before like glasses were synthesized or made, like I would not be able to survive. Like I can't see two dicks in front of my face.
Really?
Yeah, like dude, when I take my glasses off, like my vision stops like right here. And so like dude, if I was in any society that wasn't our society, I would be fucking the first person to be left behind in a village raid.
Damn.
Like they'd be like, oh, he can't fend for him. He can't even swing a club at an enemy. And I'd be like, no, they're not wrong.
Man, you should be more humble.
Is that what you got from that?
Yeah,
you should sit down more.
You're one nuclear catastrophe away from being the lowest on the totem pole.
That is true. Well, assuming that like I lose my glasses like the guy in the Twilight episode.
Man, could you imagine like
it's
the apocalypse and you just the main thing you're concerned about is keeping your glasses safe.
Everyone's like, we've got to fight for survival and children and this, and I'm like, my fucking glasses.
Excuse me, save the book.
excuse me, do not jostle me in the middle of this catastrophe.
I'm gonna read our way out of this one, fam.
You know what though? Have you? Okay, so I was talking about this.
What were you talking about?
So Stephen King has a book called Under the Dome. Are you familiar with it? You heard of this?
Is it? I think I know what you're talking about. It's where like a community lives under a dome.
No. Yes. No, actually, it's about open air. Yes, it's about that. But it's funny because there's nothing supernatural or anything about. Well, the ending is, you could say, extraterrestrial. But the whole time it's like just how society collapses. Like when it's collapsed, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I saw the Simpsons version.
Mm-hmm. That is literally like that came out before that book came out. But yeah, it's. Oh, maybe that's where Mr. King pulled his inspiration.
The Simpsons do everything first.
Yep. That's right. Simpsons did it. Isn't that a reference in South Park? Like Simpsons did it.
Yep.
Or a Family Guy. No, it's South Park.
I feel like it was South Park.
Yeah.
South Park's been on almost as long as The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy.
And I'm glad that social commentary exists because even though I don't watch South Park because I'm a fucking square, I think it's so important that we have people that are commentators and that contradict the main societal flow. Like I'm glad we have people that are like, "Yo, this shit's fucked up. We should talk about it and make fun of it and make it this big hyperbolic scene." And I'm glad that people are doing that. I'm glad it's Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Yeah, I like those guys.
Anyway, so what were we talking about at the very beginning? Oh, so Kyle hates when I do this, and so do a lot of other people. So this is our chance to kind of give this out to the world and the community and get some input, maybe in a comment, maybe in an email, maybe in a fax.
Just do a comment.
Okay, if you want to. So that all one of you out there, all eyes are on you. You've got a huge weight on your shoulders right now. Excuse me. So when I go to places that have
people,
yeah, no,
yep, any person,
no,
yep.
no,
yep.
It's a person in a service industry.
What? Explain a place where you wouldn't do this.
Like if you were just going to like a park area or like an open air garden.
I don't believe you.
No, dude, if there's nobody who is held captive by their occupational requirements, I'm not going to do this to them. I mean, I'm going to put on a
It sounds kind of predatory.
Let's not get there yet.
Well,
we haven't even disclosed.
Well, continue it so I can say it.
The substance.
Yeah, say it so I can say it.
I'm not going to because okay. So I've gotten a lot of feedback on this over the years, but I think it's fun, and maybe so. I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying I worked at Wendy's for a year when I was 17. And if people did this to me when they came in, I would have loved my job significantly more than people treating you like a mindless automata who are simply in the way of getting access to their food. They just treat you like a fucking human obstacle. People just dehumanize you because I don't know why. But I try not. I do the exact opposite. I humanize them. I rehumanize them. I probably overhumanize them. I so acutely humanize them that they become enthralled and supported and enhanced by our interaction. So what happens is he's looking at me, batting his eyes, not saying anything. So fuck you in advance. But also, so anytime I go anywhere, let's just give a common scenario. We're hungry. We've been chilling with the boys, having a good time, throwing the old pigskin around. We do that. We've done that before.
No.
So, fuck you in advance. So we go to a restaurant. Let's just say Burger King or White Castle. We're hungry. We got to refuel. We've been burning electrolytes and, getting our ketosis on.
Things we don't do.
And we go there. And so my favorite thing to do is I love when you pull up at the window and they give you an open-ended question. That is a fucking blank check. And people do not realize that they are holding an infinite metaphorical financial institution of conversational opportunities in their hands. And so when I go there, they're like, "How was your day today?" I cock my head back. And then I unleash a torrent of friendly conversation. So, for example, I'll be like, "How's your day going?" I'm like, "I'm great. How was your day going?" And they're like, oh, I'm at work. And I'm like, oh, I know. Like, man, work sucks. Like, yeah, I just came from work. And they're like, oh, yeah, where do you work? And I'm like, oh, it's not important. And they're like, all right. And I'm like, so what do you like to do? Where do you go on the weekend? What's your favorite thing? And they're like, can I take your order? And I'm like, oh, sure. Can I get a number 7? But then it doesn't stop there, because when I get to the window, I'm like, hey, you're the person I talked to on the radio box. And they're like, yeah. And so by this point, you're probably thinking this sounds obnoxious, and I'm making it obnoxious. But the point is, okay, so let's give the example from tonight. And I know you're not saying anything because you're going to say it's predatory, and you're just waiting for that. Yeah, fuck you. I can see that smile. Like, you're just waiting to say that. You bitch. But anyway, so we go out to different locations, and I like to humanize them. So tonight we went to Blaze Pizza, which is like the Subway of pizza places. Kyle had never been before, so we wanted to take him so he could understand what it's like to be in control of some aspect of your life. I'm trying to get you to talk. I know you're not going to, because you've got your mic and your glue. You're in your home base. So we go there and walk in, and there's a big line, but there's a lot of people shifting around. And I know that when we go in a place and there's a lot of different staff, that the potential for that type of fun, humanizing, supportive, energizing conversation is just exponentially greater. And so we get up there, and the first thing that happens, the very first thing is, oh wait, no, because you cut in front of us, and then what was the first thing that happened? Because they got onto me. They immediately saw that they saw that I was trying to be ridiculous, and they immediately started shitting on me. What was it? I'm not trying to get you to
I think what happened? They started taking my order, and then you tried to reintroduce yourself to them like they would remember you.
Oh, that's right. Because there was a red-haired woman, and she saw us last time. She waited us on last time, and so I was like, "Oh, hey, it's us again." And they were like, and she was like, "Oh, you."
No, she didn't. She was like, "Hey." she had no recollection.
No, I didn't mean that she recognized me. I meant she was going to be like, "Oh yeah, you're." I don't remember what she said, but basically everyone was like, "Oh, you're the troublemaker, aren't you?" And I was like, I'm just being silly.
Oh yeah, and your mask was down below your nose, and I fucking
plopped
it back on your face, and she was
you grabbed it, pulled it out like humorously, like the back of a child's diaper, and then slapped it to my face, and they were like, "Oh, we like this guy."
Everybody
funny.
Really liked that.
Yeah. Fucking Fallout, everyone liked that. Dude, and suddenly I was the asshole. Like, I was just trying to be friends with everybody, and because my nose was poking out, because I talk aggressively and animatedly, that I was the bad guy. And they're like, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, he doesn't know how to be in public." And I was like, "Remember when you waited on us last time we were here?" And she was like, and Kyle was like, "Yeah, she has no idea who you are." Because there was a bunch of people. But anyway, my favorite thing is to talk to people, be silly. Like, they'll say, like, "What do you want?" And I'll be like, "I don't know. What do any of us want in life?" And they'll be like, and most of the time, they're like, "Oh, I know, right?" Because it creates a funny, non-scripted, non-protocol-based human interaction. And every now and then you get people that are sticks in the mud that are like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ridiculous. I want chicken." But anyway, so I mean, my favorite thing. So maybe that's not the best encapsulating story, because you're not playing along and you're being very, very reticent to say anything because you want to call me out. But it's like, if you go through it, listen. Like, imagine that you work in a place with minimum wage where nobody gives you respect. You have no control over what you do. Everything you do is told to you by a manager who doesn't treat you with any iota of human decency. And then someone comes in, and instead of being like, "I want a number 2, don't fuck it up," they're like, "How are you doing today? What's your day like? What do you like to do? Who are you?" Like, that's just it just seems to me like it breaks the whole Orwellian human mechanistic part of all of it. It makes it so much fun for me.
Yeah, for you. It's for you. Because listen, so same scenario.
It's like, let's be real, it's for you.
The exact fucking same scenario. You're making minimum wage. Everyone's bossing you around. You're literally the lowest rung on the totem pole, and someone comes up and starts being ridiculous, asking you all this dumb shit when you're just trying to get through the day. You actually, literally, your employment, it hinges on you engaging with this person. Do you want to feel held hostage there at the window?
I don't see, but here, that's the thing, is like that. Maybe that's how you feel, but and like, so look, I've been doing this for years. I used to have a buddy And we used to go to restaurant. Well, he's still my friend. I don't mean like he's not around anymore. Like we're still good friends. We're still best buddies. We used to go to restaurants, and we would do that. We would sit down. We would be silly. We'd have back and forth banter, and we would bring them into it. And then like they would be a part of it on the inside, and like we would joke with them. And then we tipped them really well because they dealt with our bullshit. And we got told so many times, like 7 out of 10 times that we were like their favorite customers for the day because we weren't just there to treat them like a keypad that you push numbers in and then you receive an output of food or product. Like we treated them like they have a job and they have dreams and a life and they come to work, but it's not what they want to do. Or it is what they want to do, and it's amazing.
I'm cool with all that. It's just what I don't like is when it's really easy to tell from their very first response, maybe second response if they're into it or not. I don't like it when you can tell they're not into it and you keep pushing it.
I don't do that.
Yes, you do.
Well, I don't mean to.
Well,
because
you
some
fucking
people require a little coaxing out of their shell.
Leave the people in their shell if they want to be in their shell.
So here's the problem. And this is going to sound really throny.
Oh, yeah, it already does.
Okay, some people, and I know I'm going to, maybe the 1 or 2 viewers we have are going to take, this is going to be very controversial. It's going to be brave. It's going to be outrageous, but brave. A lot of people don't know what's best for them. And now I'm not saying I do, but I do know that there are basic rules of society that we are evolutionarily programmed to enjoy. And being at a job without any control, without meaningful social interaction, without meaningful rapport, without building relationships, without having a meaningful value-based impact on your future, people get depressed and they get anxious and they hate where they work and they just treat it like that. And so I want to restore the humanity to those desolate, barren wastelands of employment.
I've got a counter argument.
Okay, let's hear it.
Sounds pretty predatory.
I fucking knew you were waiting to drop that shit.
That you could fucking escape.
No, okay, then elaborate. Unpack your pee box. What's the predator in there? What's predatory about that other than trying to liven their... Now, I can understand that if it's the person that's not into it at all and they're like, please stop, and I don't stop, but I've never done that. No one has ever
No
said
one's
that.
ever going to say, please stop. You're not doing anything that's hurtful. You're just making their day harder. For some people genuinely enjoy it, and that's great. But you can tell when people don't, and then you keep going because you know what's best for them as the person who's not a server.
I used to be.
But you're not anymore.
I remember what it was like.
Do you?
I remember. I worked at Wendy's, dude. The Sunday rushes were crazy. We had the crotchetiest old Christians coming in and were pissed when our coffee, due to inflation, was raised by 3 cents.
Yeah, I worked at a restaurant, too, as a server for a while.
Worked at a bar.
Yeah.
I guess a bar is like a restaurant.
It was a restaurant.
A pub, you could say.
Yeah.
Actually, I think a pub is, by definition, a bar and restaurant.
Is it? Well, I have more recent experience.
Okay, so anyway, unpack your box. So how is outside of that 1 out of 10 people that is actively feeling antagonized by the interaction, what is like of the other people? How is that predatory?
Well, as I've already said, I'm not talking about the other people. I think it's great when they're into it, but let's go ahead and be honest. It's not 1 in 10. It's 5 in 10.
No.
Yes.
No.
Half of the people are not in. All right. There's 3 levels then. We'll go with 3 levels. People that are into it, people that are indifferent but are trying to move along with the day, and people that are absolutely not into it.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
Okay.
I would say
that's still 66% of people that are okay with it.
That it's not outwardly bothering them because you haven't pushed it to that level yet.
But we've also got a bell curve. Like 33% are really, really into it. Then 33% are not. And then 33%, and then 30% are kind of, and 33% are not.
So it's much more appropriate at...
Actually, that's not a bell curve. That's a downward incline. That's a decline.
It's much more appropriate at like a sit-down restaurant when you have a server that can hang out for a second. But when you're at a drive-through window and you pull up and there's a line behind you and they're busy and you're sitting there trying to make a conversation to be goofy, that's when it's bad.
But there's no malintent. There's no evilness or degrading or condescension. It's literally just supposed to be a day brightener.
You know, that's what Hitler said.
No, he fucking did. He was like, I'm not a bad guy.
I mean no harm.
Everyone gets me wrong. There's summer camps. Look the other way.
All right. Well, I mean, it doesn't. You're gonna keep fucking doing it.
Yeah,
so.
I've been doing that. And so here's the thing, and I told you this after it happened. So I will go to 20 different places over the course of like a month or however long. And even if only one place allows me to really get into it and make these fun interactions, that like wipes away everything that didn't happen before, and it strengthens that, and I just look for that. It's like a high. It's like I have to get that next hit. When's it gonna happen? Who's it gonna come from?
I just love that the basis of your argument is 9 out of 10 people like it, and the reality is 1 out of 20 that you just admitted. I like that all that just came full circle.
Okay, no. No. That was a locational thing. I'm saying that there are people across locations. I see what you're saying. I may have fucked myself. Listen.
Yeah, you sure fucking did.
No, okay, it's more than
what you got going on up there?
Dude, I don't know. My nose is like dry. I'm like hardcore spelunking in my
Dude,
nose.
snort some bourbon.
You're right. Dude, no, the numbers are way The numbers are way higher than that. It's not 1 in 20. That's disproportionate. It's like, I would literally say that it's like, you said 50% as a baseline, and I think that's fair. I think 50% is a baseline. My personal experience, because I do this when no one's in the car with me, I do this by myself, I'm like hitting it like a 60 to 75% chance, which honestly, if you think about random human encounters, is pretty high for a positive outcome.
I think it should 100% be based on the situation. I 100%, I don't care if they're into it or not. If there's a big ass line behind you at White Castle, I don't think you should be doing it because that's being shitty to all the people behind you.
I'm eating ice.
Yeah. I'm going to fucking take your ice away.
Kyle removed all the snacks so I couldn't eat on the episode, and then I ate the ice in my bourbon. Fuck you. We will survive.
I'm starving to death.
We're a proud people. We survive. Anyway, so here's the thing. So if you're out there, please weigh in and give weigh in on whether or not what I'm doing is predatory or whether it's simply just maybe a misguided attempt to build a little bit more warmth into the world.
So the options are predatory or misguided attempt, and you're still cool with doing it.
Yeah, because you know what? You know how many people have told me, like, thank you for coming in, thank you for doing this, thank you. Dude, the very act, this is crazy. I found this out. When I go to a restaurant, so let's just say a drive-thru. Let's keep it super simple, super relatable. When I go through a restaurant, sorry, super relatable. I got really excited and I choked on my saliva. When you go to a drive-thru, fuck you, Kyle. When you go through a drive-thru,
fucking finish.
Dude, I'm clearing my esophagus. So when you go through a drive-thru and you talk to the person, if you literally just use the basic elementary base, the very bottom of human manners, people treat you like you are the nicest person. Like they're like, hey, thank you, welcome to White Castle, what can I get you? And I'm like, oh, hey, can I have a number 2, please, and a large fry and a diet? And they're like, oh, is everything right? I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, you nailed it, that's perfect. They're like, okay, see you at the window. And I'll get up there, and I'm like, here you are, and they're like, you are so nice. And I'm like, am I? And they're like, yeah, you're like the nicest person who's been through here today. And I'm like, isn't it nice to be treated like a person? And they're like, they laugh and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I just try to treat people like people. And it's because so many people come through there and they're just like, I want a number 2.
Yeah.
All right, come to the next window. Here's my card. Here you go. Like, there's no basic, like, you are paying them for a service. And yeah, you can argue that it's a really menial, bad, whatever service is a necessary evil that exists, but they are human beings operating in an arguably shitty environment and a shitty work that they work at, and it's like that doesn't mean their station is lower and they deserve less.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
That's kind of what you're implying.
No, I'm not. The way that you just said that you go in there and you treat them like humans, that's how I treat every single person in there. I'm not saying you need to go in there and treat them like shit. You just don't need to hold them up and make their day longer. Say please, thank you,
Okay,
that
but
shit.
let's dive into the behavioral dimensions of these episodes because that's my thing. How long do you think it really lasts?
I don't know.
You don't want to play this game.
No, I don't. I don't care. I've lost interest.
I know you're over it.
We
but
have
I'm-
this conversation every fucking time we go through a drive-thru. I don't want to do it on the podcast now.
You're like, dude, can we please not? And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna. And you're like, yeah, but you don't have to. And I'm like, yes, I do. And then whenever you're with me, you're fucking bad vibes. The guy's just like, hey,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
through,
want burgers?
through the fucking speaker, he can tell that I'm with you.
He's like, is there a guy in the car that doesn't want you to have fun?
Is that Kyle?
I don't want to have fun anymore.
I wouldn't want to displease him.
Yo, he's like a dude I know. All right, well, anyway.
Yeah. Dude, I'm going to start curling my mustache.
Yeah, you've been doing it several times. I haven't been commenting on it out of respect for you, but honestly, it's looking pretty curlable.
Dude, it is. If I put a little wax in there,
A little chutzpah. Oh, it already has a little bit of a curl. Is it tickling your cheek?
mm-mm.
Oh.
No, I don't have feeling in my cheeks.
I feel like... Are you serious? Is that a real thing? No. Oh, okay. I was like, oh, we have to open up like a dark can of worms. I lost the feeling in my cheek in 87. It was a terrible cheese grater incident.
I might curl it once until I look at myself in the mirror. I'm going to be like, I don't want to be a hipster.
So here's the thing about hipster, because I know a thing or two about it, because I've been called it, and I'm not one, and here's fucking why. It's an attitude. Okay, so there's several dimensions to hipsterdom. We have a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah? So there is a clothing style, there is a personality, and there's an attitude. And I don't have any of those things. I don't dress like a hipster. I don't have an attitude. And I just talk about books and things and ideas. That doesn't make me a hipster. I don't use that in a pretentious self-aggrandizing, I did it before you guys way. I never say that. I just talk about concepts and ideas in books. And then people are like, whoa, you're really smart. You must be. And I'm like, no, why can't we talk about these things? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't think you're a hipster. I just think you're pretentious.
Thank you. Fuck you again. I feel like if you watch the trajectory of our episodes and our podcast, it goes from like, Kyle, let's get into it, to me being like, fuck you, Kyle.
That is the thing.
You know what? You're a real piece of shit. You're lucky you're the only co-host I have.
You'd be cut if it wasn't for your name being the show name.
If you weren't 50% of the intellectual property, you'd be fucking out of here. I don't know that that's always mattered, though, because they've like changed. Like Roseanne is no longer part of her show.
Is that? I guess you can't change the name at this point.
No, we're gonna go with Luann.
we're gonna change it to not Roseanne. She's gone.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's not Roseanne.
It's
But who?
Everyone but Roseanne.
John Goodman's like, I'm still alive. Dude, I forget about him.
Yeah, I thought he was dead.
Dude, he slimmed down. He's looking good.
Yeah, he probably was probably a necessity or he'd be dead.
Yeah.
He was a large man.
Yeah, there was a lot good about him. And get your nose off the mic.
Oh, let's get closer to the mic. Oh, get farther away from the mic. Oh,
Yeah,
get
I
your
know.
nose off
Dude,
the mic.
I'm
Don't
all-
fart in the mic.
I know. I'm all over the place. Get the mic out of your ass. Don't put it in your ass. Put it in your ass.
Well, where do I go? Well, where do we go now?
Okay, so we were having this conversation earlier, and I think it would really please one of our listeners and our good friends to talk about this. Apparently, and I also have not read, what's the author of Fingerprint
Stephen
of the
King.
Gods?
Stephen King.
Fingerprint of the Gods?
Dr. Seuss.
The guy who you told me to read because he wrote about ancient aliens and anthropology.
Hancock
Graham.
Graham.
Is his last name Graham? His first name's Hancock? Well, that's all backwards.
It is. It's Graham Hancock.
You're like, that's because it is.
Oh, I fooled you.
You've been had.
I fooled you with your own words.
So apparently, there are findings now that say that the pyramids were actually were actually found by the Egyptians and were not built by them, and they predate the Egyptians by so many years. And that the way they're saying that is because there is apparently signs of like saltwater salinity or some chemical that's present in an ocean of water that hasn't been present in that area for centuries before the Egyptians were there. That is apparent. That's like in the rock, sandstone or whatever.
Yep, they found on like the lower levels of the pyramids and the Sphinx. There's saltwater erosion.
The sphincter.
Yeah, the sphincter.
The
It's
sphincter.
a big butthole.
Just a giant puckered butthole in the desert.
An alternate reality.
The people who predated us were arseholes.
The sphincter. The only entrance is the hole.
You have to go in and like give it a kiss, and it opens up. You can hear the opposite of what a fart sounds like. It's like, welcome to the sphincter.
Oh yeah, that's mad comedy, bro.
Dude, that's quality content right there, brother.
Yeah, that's been a thing for a while. So the thing is, when you say they're saying, you can't. It sounds misleading. Like this is becoming.
So let me go ahead and put a stamp of I only have second and third hand information of this. I haven't read it. I haven't looked into it. The book you told me to get, Fingerprint of the Gods, is in my Amazon wish list as we speak.
Though, it's when you say they're saying, it sounds like this is becoming accepted. So the thing about
is there consensus?
No, the thing about what is it? Archaeology and like. They're really set in, like, historians and scholars and all the people that teach this stuff and study this stuff. They're all very set in history staying exactly how it is.
Like there's a predominant narrative.
Yeah.
And like they don't want to deviate because that means that the whole like tapestry could unweave.
Exactly.
Okay.
So like unless there is groundbreaking concrete evidence of this, if someone comes out with any theory about this, they're labeled as a crazy person.
Radical. Or,
yeah. And that's what Graham Hancock is in the community. They label him as like a radical. And he said all this. Like what I'm saying right now is coming straight from him. He's like, it's because like everyone's so set in their ways. Like no one wants to give any sort of thought to maybe they were wrong about something.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because anyone that comes up with anything like history should be different, they're like, oh, you must believe in UFOs. Brr, 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 brr.
In their PhD professional opinion, boo-ba-dope, boo. Boo-FO.
Yeah, dude. Boo-FOs. Boo.
Boo-FOs, am I right? That's the Ten Doobies way.
Oh, yeah. The only way.
So, what you got?
Also,
Dump it out. Dump out your info. I want to have this conversation because I have a very easy argument that I think quickly discredits that.
go ahead.
Okay. My argument is, if you'll recall, so in the pyramids, as we have discovered them currently, and we are still discovering new pockets and new chambers in the different pyramids, like that, you still see those discoveries come out like randomly. So when you look at the way that, so based on that theory, then the Egyptians found them and they decided that these giant triangles are excellent places for their most esteemed leaders because they're so magnificent and magnanimous. I can understand that. We're very symbolic and semiotic driven people. We assign meaning to things and it's whatever. It is what it is. So, okay, we put all these things in there, but what I'm saying is that when you look at the complexes, like when we go in now and we investigate and the archaeologists go in and go through the tunnels, they are finding all these traps and these passages and these dead ends, and that could only have been created but from the middle out. So what I'm saying is that it doesn't make sense that the people would find them because the Egyptians would have fallen into those traps and into those other things, and they would not have gotten these big elaborate sarcophagi and all their funeral rites and their rituals wouldn't have been established in there because there'd be such a risk involved in going in there. That's my theory, is that doesn't make sense to me because there's so many passages that lead in that are dead ends or that result in potentially, if they didn't have the equipment they have now, they would be stuck.
You're saying that a non-advanced civilization stumbles onto this stuff, and you're saying that they wouldn't risk going in there because
I think they would risk it, but they would be caught up in the traps that a higher, more primitive or more advanced civilization would have laid for them.
Yeah. Why do you think that didn't happen? Like,
because they're at the very central point of these crypts and these pyramids, and there's all these branching other paths that make sense that if you're coming in from the outside and you don't have that prior knowledge, that it doesn't make sense that they would not have fallen prey to those.
I'm saying they could have. There could have been many people that fell prey
But
to.
you don't hear that. You don't hear accounts of like all these hundreds of skeletons and these offshoots of these things indicate that the pyramids were sealed and they made an entrance into them. You don't.
Yeah,
hear
I don't think that it was like one person that went. No, again, this is all just a theory, but I don't think that just one person at a time went in there and explored. I'm sure it was large groups of people that went in there and tried to map the shit out. And if someone died from a trap, they probably dragged their body right out of there.
Maybe.
You know?
If they could access it.
Okay.
If it didn't fall in a pit.
If they fell in a pit and they couldn't access it, then we wouldn't know the bones are there because we can't access it.
What if they fell? Well, we have technology they don't have now. We have ropes and lights and lanterns and.
You're gonna find bones with a rope.
I'm just saying you can enter previously inaccessible or with no point of egress, and you can then exit those locations with the equipment. And honestly, we have like sonar and like shit that maps out things without even going and venturing into them.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that's a valid argument for this because I feel like that.
I think it's valid. I think you choose to believe otherwise.
I think that they would be willing to throw the. I mean, if the alternative is that thousands and thousands and thousands of slaves died when they were building the pyramids. Like they're willing to throw as many people at it as they won't needed to either way. So
I guess what I'm saying is that when you hear about the temples, they're apparently meticulously maintained, and it's like you don't hear like, oh, we went in and there was all these bodies in this area where they shouldn't be, or that people would have fallen into on accident. You never hear that.
Yeah,
you just hear like, we found this awesome new passage and it leads to this sacred chamber where there's all these incredible, like everything was ritualistically preserved in a very systematic and culturally significant way. There's nothing that's pell-mell or accidental, which makes again me think that this was designed by these people in some way that we're still, I guess, and confused about and still deciding how it happened. But I don't think that indicates anything prior to that, because I mean, if you look at I don't know what was said or what was even in the article, but if the argument is that there's indication of some chemical that was in an ocean that existed previously but that no longer existed or predates when they should have been occurring simultaneously, I mean, you could just say that it drifted from the sand. There's just a lot of movement and wind. Like it could have happened over weathering or over centuries. I mean, there's a lot of ways for that to kind of happen and weather those.
It's not that simple though. It's not like there was a chemical on the very bottom little bit of it. Like the shit was underwater. Like a large amount of it was underwater. Like it was a huge flood. Like an ocean was there at one point or something. Like crazy shit. It was.
So here's what I'll say. And Stephen Dawkins, I do that all the time. Richard Dawkins, when you have extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So it's like, all right, where's our evidence?
The evidence is the fucking chemical. The evidence is what we're talking about.
No. That's not evidence. That is a stimuli. That is the objective phenomenon. Let's talk. Well, the evidence would be we see salt patterns, or we see a cycle or system where this makes sense that this was here and it's not anymore. But we don't see that. They're just like, well, there must have been an ocean here, which makes sense from the planet's development.
No, they're saying that there's ocean damage. There's like saltwater damage there, and there used to be an ocean there long before the Egyptians. That is the evidence.
I don't know.
No, is that just a stimuli? Oh, stupid ass.
I mean, it's an interesting theory, and I think the problem is that like for example, I don't know if you read this recently. Like there was an unidentified. They described it as like a torpedo or like a weird object.
Tic Tac.
Yeah, the Tic Tac. And they were like, oh, because UFO doesn't mean extraterrestrial. It means we don't know what it is yet until we can classify it. So, they were like, oh, it must be unknown origin. And then they're like, oh, we know what it is now. It's like this weird chemical that exists. It's like this weird molecule that exists in like Saturn or something. It's just like it's just like an ice. It's like a tail end of an asteroid.
We're talking about something else then.
Okay. Well, there was a Tic Tac shaped object that was like out there, and then like 10 or 20 years ago, they were like, oh, it must be an identified UFO, or it must be extraterrestrial or extra cosmic in its or extra galactic in its origins. It's out of this like galaxy. And then they're like, and then now they're like, they looked at it again and they're like, oh, that has the same chemical signature as like this other completely normal element that's somewhere else. So it's like, just because something seems unexplainable or weird now doesn't mean that it requires, like, it necessitates the explanation of aliens or precursors or anything else. It just means that we don't know the A, B, and C to get back to Z.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
What I'm talking about, the Tic Tac thing, was I'm pretty sure that's the one that's on.
Kyle, we're getting awfully close to space
I
talk.
fucking know we are also close to the into the episode. I'm sure you're gonna cut it off right when it gets good. Anyway, the Tic Tac I'm talking about, I think this is the one where they were doing like an Air Force training exercise, and it's all recorded and it's on YouTube. Like literally.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. And the guy's like, "Oh, there's something over my right shoulder," and they're like, "Oh, what is it?" He's like, "I don't know. Oh, now it's gone."
Yeah, but they have it all on video, and the shit, it moves faster than anything that anyone's ever seen on Earth, and it like changes directions and way quicker. Like it defies the laws of physics basically. And that guy's been all over talking about how he's like I mean, he saw it with his own eyes, and he's like, that was like nothing I've ever seen before. That was I firmly believe that was an alien or UFO. He's been on Joe Rogan.
Has he?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
and that video is like, yeah, I mean, who was it? Was it? I guess just the government. The government released.
It was. Oh yeah, the entire body of governing.
They released a statement saying that UFOs are like real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again,
Okay.
that doesn't mean aliens. That means things that we cannot identify.
Okay. I guess they came out and said that they are not. They are not. What's the word? Like putting it out of the question that aliens exist.
Well, and here's the thing. I believe in aliens. Like, statistically, in our infinite universe, like, it happened once here. And if there's a billion planets and it happens once in a million or once in 1,000 or once in a billion, this would have. There's another Earth out there somewhere. There's another Earth-like. Whether
we found 1,000 other Earths.
Yeah. And so, like, it makes total sense that there's another species or race or whatever even their language or word is for it that's out there that. Ooh, I have to take a brief departure. Have you seen the movie Arrivals?
No.
Did that really dramatically. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
So there's this movie where this giant space clitoris comes down, and it literally looks like a giant clitoris. Like, it looks like this giant, like,
Clitoris.
Shut up. This giant, it's like this giant sliver comes down, and they like go up inside it, and like the whole movie is them like trying to figure out what these like beings want. And they're like these weird big hand having like behind this white opaque like opalescent fog. Opalescent is a Lovecraft word, and I love it, and I try to use it as much as possible. And they finally like talk to them, and they like realize that they communicate in like these like circular. It's really cool, like, because they bring like a speech pathologist up there, which is cool because I work with speech paths, and they're awesome people. And they like bring this girl up, and she like they code these like weird circles that kind of look like, you know, like static in a circle, but like each quadrant has like a different signature to it, and it represents like a different concept. And they finally crack that code, and it turns out that they have a gift. And they're like, oh, what are they coming to give us? And I don't remember exactly what happens. I know exactly what I'm trying to say, but I don't know if it's like an event that happens, like a cataclysmic event, or if it's just for the main character. But essentially, there's like all these flashbacks that happen throughout the movie. And the gift they're bringing is time, is like the ability to turn back time and the ability. It's really, really cool. And that kind of ruins the whole movie. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's called Arrivals. It came out like 5 or 6 years ago, but it's really, really good. And it's good because it's not a typical alien movie. It's really high concept, and it's really, really unique. I highly recommend it because the ending is like really intense. But I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I love that kind of shit. Have you ever seen Contact? It's a real old movie.
Old? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 90s.
I've seen like Armageddon with Vin Diesel or
dude. We gotta watch
Bruce Willis.
We gotta watch Contact. The both of us. It's so good
at the same time.
Yeah, dude. Like right after this. I'm not gonna ruin anything, but
Okay.
it's about it's a lady that works, a scientist that works at NASA, and they work at SETI, You know what that is?
Yeah.
And they're
Is that like the people that are trying to reach out for extraterrestrial?
Yeah,
they
it's a
send
search
out
for
the
extra
radio transmission.
Yeah, search for
like
extra.
that one we sent out in the '60s and never got a weird reply to. That was like radio signals. You know what I'm talking about? How they sent out that thing?
You got several things mixed up.
Okay.
we sent that thing out. It was the Voyager. It was Voyager 1. It's the satellite, and it's the furthest anything's ever traveled.
I'm talking about the
That's on Voyager.
I'm talking about the radio signal that had like man and the DNA. And
That's
like
on Voyager.
I thought they just radio blasted it out.
Oh, they might have done that too.
Okay.
But it's so Voyager has a golden disc on it, a golden record, and it's encoded. Like the aliens would have to figure out how to play it. Which I mean, it wouldn't be if
a
they're
phonograph.
if they're aliens and they've made it this far. I mean, it would be they'd have to figure it out, but it wouldn't take them that.
They might
long.
have to deconstruct their technology.
Yeah.
It's so primitive.
Yeah, but when you play it, it says like hello, welcome to Earth or something like that in like every language on Earth. And like there's a way to play it to where it gives you data to where it like makes a picture and shit. And there's like pictures on there.
Yeah, and it's like a man, a woman, like sea life, different creatures,
and
like
then
DNA.
and there's a map on how to get to Earth.
Ooh.
Which could be disastrous if they're bad aliens.
They're mean.
But again, if they stumbled across this and then needed a map to find us, they're probably not that scary. They could probably find us on their own. But anywho, she works at SETI, and I'm just not going to ruin it. We're just going to watch it.
Okay.
It's real good. Did you know about the WoW signal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's real cool.
Go ahead and say it, because I remember. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember exactly. I know that there was like this signal coming from a weird area where it's like not mapped out, and it was like this weird tone or like this.
Yeah, so space we get random like noises from
like
space,
from different stars and random.
But this
shit.
was like, I would butcher trying to explain it in depth, but it was basically the signal that they got was something that can't occur naturally.
Like it seemed like it was too random or too not random to be.
Yeah, too not random. And it was like a solid like 8 minutes that it came through, and then it was gone forever. And they've been listening ever since for it to come back. You want to hear a fun, cool fact?
Yeah.
So radio signals, when everything that's broadcasted just keeps on going out there.
It doesn't deteriorate?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
So somewhere they're getting like I Love Lucy and like shows from the 50s.
You know what the first thing that was like broadcasted on that level was?
Oh, was it a War of the Worlds?
No, it was like a Hitler speech.
Are you serious?
So the first thing that aliens would hear from us is fucking Hitler.
That's fucked up.
I know.
Oh my God! They're like, oh, let's give the universe a chance.
He's like, Hansi.
Oh, I guess they're not ready yet.
Oh, let's let them bake for about.
Yeah, they're
gonna
incubate a little bit longer. I think they're not ready for intergalactic relationship.
And see if they
it's like in the game Mass Effect. It's like, and by the way,
Mm-hmm.
that's an amazing trilogy. They're remastering it.
Mm-hmm.
So Mass Effect is humanity is like the last race to enter an intergalactic like alliance with all these other races and species. And so like we found this mass relay like out in like a distant area, and what it does is it transports you to it allows you like instantaneous transmission across the universe, so like to all these other galaxies. And so it basically like we meet all these other people and we meet this like hub, and it's like we're the last race to be a part of that like alliance.
Well, I mean, so far.
True, but no, that's exactly right. But it's like,
the newest.
It's just easy to see like how, and even in there, like all the races are like, you're the newest one. We've been here for centuries. Like you have a lot to prove, and it's like, and they fuck up a lot, and like they do a lot of really terrible things because they're, we are like, we have this very primitive, conquering, manifest destiny mindset, and they're like, well, we have to live harmoniously because things are. It's like when we got the internet, like we're not separate anymore, and it's like that, like, oh, we're not separated by space anymore. Like we all have to live together now. So like you guys have to be cool. You have to show us that you're not gonna fuck us over.
Yeah, dude, I loved the vibe of the first game. Like, honestly,
it's very space rocky.
Yeah, honestly, before like. It was really cool. I don't know, like I don't think it would have taken off nearly as well, but like I just loved the role playing aspect before the Reapers even came into it,
Boyz.
Yeah. Buzz.
That's so silly. You have your little ship on a map, and they're like, dude, I do love the lore in that game, though. Like, even though the third one, whatever, like, I liked it as a game. There's no way you can, like, please everybody with an ending, but I definitely didn't do a great job. Then they patched it, but, like, I think they got better, and I always love the amount of things you can do. BioWare just, like, knows how to tell stories.
The gameplay was... So, honestly, the first game... I mean, obviously, they got better every time, like you said, yes. The story was more... It was more rich every time, and the gameplay, like the mechanics, were always better. But the thing is, the first game was almost a different genre than the next two.
Yep.
It was more of an RPG, and the next two were shooters.
Yep,
that's
correct.
I loved the first game. Like, do you remember the Crucible? Was it the Crucible or the Citadel?
Citadel.
The Citadel. The Citadel in the first game was literally an open world, like, city you could go around.
Yep.
In the second game, it was a fucking elevator with, like, 7 rooms. Do you remember that?
I do.
I was so pissed when I saw it. Because that was my... Dude, I walked around the Crucible for hours in the first game.
Their budget was like, cutscenes.
Yeah,
cutscenes. World development.
Figure out how to shoot things better.
Yeah.
Dude, I walked around the Crucible in the first game for hours and just talked to everyone.
Well, you know that I have to ask you, did you play Andromeda?
Not yet. I'm going to, though.
Well, now that it's patched, like, it's... Anyway, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, go check out Mass Effect Trilogy, the original one. Andromeda was the one that came after by a smaller sub-studio, and it's still worth playing if you love it, and if you like space games, RPGs, whatever, do it. But
love that shit.
But, it was definitely panned when it came out because it was not... It was rushed out and did not have the polish as the other games.
Well, while we're here, let's fucking talk about it.
Okay.
Activision sucks dick.
EA
and Activision suck dick an equal amount.
So does Blizzard.
What has Activision fucked up lately?
That
was Destiny, wasn't it? Was that Activision?
I think so.
Okay.
Bungie. Wasn't that Bungie?
It was Bungie, but Activision is the people
publisher?
that fucked it. Yeah. Like, BioWare was great, and then EA fucked it.
Oh, that's a whole other topic, is like crunch culture and games and like...
Well, crunch is just gonna happen. Like, you can't avoid it. I mean, you can
avoid it.
You can avoid it, but the games will never come out.
They would come out. Just not within the quarterly, the released window that they want.
The problem is, if...
You said this to me like months ago, and I love it. It's true. It's like, you're like, I would rather wait 5 years for a game than push out a piece of shit because it's the new next thing.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather wait, because I think we were talking about Cyberpunk, and then it was perfect on PC, but it was not optimized for anything.
I wouldn't say perfect, but it was a good game on PC.
Yeah.
And it was a literal steaming pile of shit on everything else.
Well, it wasn't optimized because the game executives, the publishers were like, we got to ship it out, and they were like, it's not ready, and they're like, oh, we know that, but we're not going to tell them.
They're like, oh, you can make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's me. That's a hardcore, like, gamer. Like, I'm more of a fan of the game than like a casual player. A casual player just wants the next best thing, and a studio just wants to make a profit as quick as they can so they can make the next thing. It's not profitable to sit on a game for 7 years and make it perfect when you could churn out 4 shitty games in that amount of time and make 3 times
change
the money.
names. It's like, dude, it's like the NBAs and the Call of Duties, and it's like they literally just taken the same framework and mapping it onto a new brand of names, and I guess more sports games than Call of Duty. But
I mean, what are you supposed to do with sports games? Like, you can't change the rules.
I know exactly. Basketball in space with skateboards.
Yeah, like those games are great. I mean, the thing is, there's like once every like 6 years, there's like a revolutionary new 2K game or Madden game when they like figure something out and put a really cool mechanic in there. But other than that, you're basically paying $60 for a roster update.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing is, like, from a technological advance perspective, like Moore's Law, it's like you've got the controls, they feel good, the character models look amazing, they're on the current gen, like the model works, like everyone's happy with the control scheme, everyone's happy with the menus. It's like what else are you supposed to do? Like, you're making your money, you're selling your product. Like, what else can you possibly add to a realism-based sport game to, like, change the game? And I guess, they just add deep modes and RPG elements, but it's like everything else is still the same. Like, maybe they make things more physics-based, or they add, like, a finesse mode, like in soccer games, they'll add, like, a special touch or something. But it's, like, really, like, arguably, in terms of, like, you make a perfect product, like, why would you modify it,
And it's really a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because
exactly,
like we're saying right now, like, oh man, they won't change shit, but then we were just like, oh god, Mass Effect changed too much. Like,
I think I love the progression. I think each game plays differently. I mean, the second and third one are way more similar than like the first one is by itself, but like I liked the progression, and I liked how certain systems evolved and other ones went away that weren't as necessarily as functional. But
if you could somehow when they do the remaster, is it going to be like,
it's going to be those games with updated texture? I don't know if so it's interesting because like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, they you're like, Bandicoot. So the reason I say that is there's a kid who works at our who is receiving services. I guess technically by that like dynamic, he is being worked at, being worked on, but he receives his service.
He's being serviced.
Yeah, at our clinic, he has this funny vocal script where he'll have a completely normal conversation with you, and then he'll go Crash Bandicoot, and I think about that every day because it makes me laugh because it's such a funny thing. Because I'm 32, and like Crash Bandicoot came out when I was a kid, and he's like 12 years old. It's like how would he? And I know Crash Bandicoot just came out, but it's like such a funny thing to me because I think about the old games, and he's like probably referencing the new one.
Probably.
But anyway, what were we talking about?
Remastering.
Yeah, it's like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot remastered like changed the control schemes to like one that makes sense across all of them, like ones that like because they changed as the technology evolved, but like. So it's like I wonder if they will streamline the menus and everything, or if they'll literally just leave it as is, but update the textures.
They'll probably streamline the menus and update the textures, but the engines will probably be the same. The thing that I was just thinking, thinking about it a little bit more now, there's no way they'll do that, but it would be amazing if you could have Mass Effect 1 with just like the shooting of Mass Effect 2 and 3, you know what I mean? But there's no way, because they would have to completely redo the engine and remake everything.
I think they could do it.
They could do it, but they're not going to waste.
Are they going to?
Yeah, they wouldn't even waste the extra year to make a decent game. They're not going to fucking change it. Ooh.
Dude, they got to be shitting in their britches right now. Yeah, you are calling them out.
Yeah, you know what's up, BioWare.
Yo, Savage Discourse is coming for you.
Dude, I'm about
giant multi-billion-dollar game company.
I'm about to make Mass Effect 4, and it's going to be way better than your shit.
I'm going to use Dreams to make it that game. You know what I'm talking about? The
no.
game on the PlayStation that like you can make your own games.
Oh, they had one of those on Xbox. It was so bad. Project Spark.
Yeah, so the new one is by Media Molecule, the same company that did Little Big Planet. Mm-hmm. And dude, it's dope. Like it's you can ultimately only do so much. Like they can't, because they can't give you a proprietary engine to make like the next Halo or the next, whatever. But it's so versatile, and they teach you, and it's so user friendly. Like people have made all kinds of awesome stuff, and it's really easy to create stuff. Like I've literally been, if it came to computer, I would buy it like immediately, but I don't want it on my old PS3. Oh wait, that's a PS4.
Yeah, I mean, if it's that easy, if it's user friendly enough to put on a console, it's not going to be that powerful. I mean, that's kind of no. I'm saying it's powerful. Yeah. I'm just saying that you can't make a very dynamic game.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. And here's the thing: like, no game that was made on there has been like a publisher has reached out to and be like, let's make that a fully fledged game. To my knowledge,
honestly, there's probably something in there that if you make it in the game, they have the rights to it.
That's probably true. And the other thing is that, like, you're limited. Like, it's a endlessly creative tool, but it's like you are bound by the rules of that engine. Like, you can't do something, like, revolutionary because you're bound to that engine.
Yeah.
Like, you can't code. Like, it doesn't give you the back-end entrance to, like, fundamentally change the rules, but...
It's not Unreal Engine. You know how that shit works? You know how Unreal Engine works?
No.
So, like, you and I could download... It's free.
No, I do know that.
No. So then, yes.
Well, it's like Bethesda releasing its creation engine.
I thought creation engine was just for modding.
It literally gives you the source code.
Well, the Unreal Engine is you can
I think so. Anyway,
you can download it. Like developers can download it, make a game, sell the game, and you only owe Bethesda or Epic. Yeah, Epic Games. That's Unreal Engine, right? You only,
I'm not sure who owns it.
pretty sure it's Epic. You only owe them money after you make like however many thousands of dollars, and you owe them a percentage of all profits.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a funny way for them to be like, here you go, use this engine. By the way,
If the shit takes off, we're taking it.
yeah, we're getting royalties from your awesome, creative, original IP.
But I mean, Unreal Engine is like the top of the line engine.
Dude, I like this. Like this whole like talking into it without a stand.
Yeah.
This feels good. Like so. Anyway, I took my mic off the boom and I'm just holding it like Kyle does.
I've been doing this for ages.
For years.
I've been doing this for like the last 4 seasons, bro.
Yo, dude. I've been doing this. Anyway, so if you're not into video games, that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, that
for the
sucks for
last,
you.
But go check out what we're talking about because we're talking about good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say Andromeda's more like? Was it more like 3, 2? Definitely not 1.
So, no, here's the thing.
Don't
Here's-
gas me up.
Here's the... Don't butter my biscuit. Here's the thing.
All right.
Literally, it's like a blend of 1 and 3.
I like that.
It's cinematic and it's interesting, but it also has a lot of on wheels roving around exploring planets. So
I like
it
that.
literally is like a blend of 1 and 3.
And the combat's really good, right?
I mean, it's as good as it always is.
I don't know about all that.
It's as good as always.
Yeah. But I've just seen all these videos of the facial animations being so shitty. What have you done? What have you done, John?
I fixed it.
The facial.
No. That was like when it first released, and
they're
they like
still not great.
It looks
they're
bad, but
they're better now, but it's still not
it's
good.
basically fixed at this point.
We'll look up a video.
No, well here's no. I know what you're talking about, and the thing is that it's they don't have the same tools as the original full studio does. So even though it looks better, it's never going to have the same cinematic, perfect movie quality that like a big studio is going to have.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's functional. It looks okay, but like, yeah, the emotions are off, and the syncing is not always on par. But it's like
It's just crazy they did that. They clearly. I mean, it's a fine game, I guess.
it's your fine game.
From what I hear. But it's crazy they took like a crown jewel of gaming, like something that one of the top 5 names in gaming as far as like franchises, and just handed it off to a little studio to try to make a little spin-off to make a quick buck rather than wait a little bit and let BioWare really commit some time to it.
Jahir, they're working on a new one.
Yeah,
in the main studio.
I just heard.
I'm just waiting.
My hopes are not high.
They're tempered. They're medium.
I mean, if they wait like 10 years, I'll be real happy.
Well, but here's the other thing. Like, you have your trilogy, and you do it. You put all your resources into it, all your creative, your systems developers, your level, everything. You put all of into it. You finish it, and then people are like, we want more, but you're too busy knocking out these other AAA games that you can make every year. So it's like I mean,
Anthem.
I can't believe you brought up Anthem.
You know that was BioWare.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's EA, dude.
It was BioWare.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I know, but that was under the pressure of EA.
Yeah.
And, dude, that game is a fucking nightmare. And
it was the same story as Destiny, man. Like,
Yep.
It was literally everything that they promised and intended. EA gutted and made them release it like literally 2 years too early.
Yep.
Like story, I saw a story behind it. It was like, the very first like release they showed at EA that got everyone hyped and shit.
I remember that. It was crazy.
Yeah, the developers, they hadn't even seen that yet. That was all fake. Like that.
And that's what's called watershedding.
Yeah,
like that's what's called like. I think that's what it's called. It's called like creating this product that your ultimate final product does not represent.
Yeah, like that was not maybe it was in engine, but it was not representative of the actual gameplay. Like the developers had no idea that that's the direction it was going. They didn't know.
That was just the advertising team that was like, this is what we're gonna sell people.
Yeah,
make it look like this.
Yeah, like they saw that when the rest of the world saw that, and that's when they learned what kind of game they were making, and they had like a year to do it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why it was such a dumpster fire.
Well, dude, it's like anytime someone commercializes art, like you're going to get a soulless product. Like anytime someone's like, you seem to really be good at this incredibly innovative, creative, personally meaningful, artistic form of expression. Now you have to do it on a schedule and you have to do it this way and you have to make sure it hits these boxes because it won't sell of that. It's like you're going to get a soulless product. Like you're going to get something that people are doing but they don't want to. Like my brother was telling me, he's a game developer. He taught himself how to code using modular engine using GameMaker and then taught himself C++. And now he works for an awesome tech company in Louisville, Kentucky. But he tells me, he's like, dude, there was a period where like I was having to make games and make code for people, and I made me hate coding. And I was like, I get it. Like you take like if someone like I love making perler bead art, like pixel art, and I've just started doing that. But if someone was like, if I did that all day for 8 hours a day every day, I would hate it. I wouldn't come home and do that.
No, I totally get that. The problem is it's another trade-off thing. Like, in order to make the crazy games that everyone wants, you kind of have to sell your soul to this publisher, and the publisher doesn't give a shit about the art. They're all about the profit, so they're going to push you to put out a game that is not up to par.
Yep.
It's crazy. That's why indie games are becoming more and more popular.
Indie games have...
What? What's going on?
You grabbing your boom with your toes?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just jiggling around, you bitch. No, dude, indie games. My brother got me into indie games because he made an indie game and sells on Steam, and he made
what's it called?
Zombie Party.
Go
check it out if you haven't. And if you really like it, please buy it and support him.
It's like $5 or something on Steam.
It's like 10
$10. It's real good.
He spent years on it, and he did most of it himself. There's some audio and character designs. But
John's actually in the game.
I am. I'm one of the main characters under Johnny. If you want to go check it out, it's actually really cool. I have a little hair swoop, which is honestly very flattering because I do not have that amount of hair in real life.
I do not have a swoop.
I do not. I'm not swooped up. But he spent anyway, and so like he told me about it, and like I look on his Steam, like I follow his his handle is Peach Pie Productions. He publishes under a company out of California called Black Shell Media. I don't know if he's still with them or not, but and they did right by him, and I'm really happy that he had a good company that treated him well and didn't just try to take all the money from him. But anyway, go check it out. Zombie Party. It's a super fun top-down shooter that's wave-based, and there's a story mode and a battle mode, and it's got a lot of cool features, and he put a bunch of bonus. There's so much love poured into it, and it's really unique, and I'm just so proud of him. But anyway, so yeah, dude, we get so close to talking about space, dude.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of feel like we're getting pulled into that orbit. Would you say?
No.
All right. Fuck you. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to Season 2, Episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm John.
Go.
And we'll see you next time.